Hi, Jesse Grimes here. Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I'm on a roof. Why am I on the roof? Well, in this video I'm going to be talking about the observations I'm making about this backyard project here. So one observation is this middle part of the roof is a V shape. It all drains into the backyard back there. So when it does rain, a lot of water comes down the middle of this V and pours into the backyard. And I'm up here to find out how much. So I've already used my long tape to measure out the square footage of the roof. Not the surface area, not the V shape, but just the footprint. So I measured along the ridges here, and that came out to 42 feet by 22 feet, which equals 924 square feet. So now I know the square footage of the catchment area of this roof. And how do I figure out how much water that's going to provide us? Well, there's a formula. It's your square footage, which for us is 924, times the amount of rain in inches. I'm just going to use 1 inch to find out how much gallons I get per inch of rain. And then there's a conversion factor of 0.623. You can just round it off to 0.6 if you're just looking for a ballpark figure, but 0.623 is the number. So we put that into our calculator. 924 times 1 times 0.623. That means I get 575 gallons per inch of rain falling on this part of the roof. That's quite a lot. So with 14 inches average around here in Orange, that's over 8,000 gallons a year coming off just this section of the roof. So that's a good number for me to have to make calculations of how much water I want to store back there, and if I get tanks, how big of tanks I'm going to need, or just what I'm going to have to deal with. Making these measurements and getting real numbers is a real important part of making a good design. So now I'm going to go down to the yard and show you some of the other observations I've made about this project. So while I have my tape measure out, I might as well find out how much water is coming off of this smaller roof of the little house. Again, I wanted to show you guys how I measured that footprint, how I measured that catchment area. It's as if you're looking at it from above. How big is that? Not the surface area of the roof, but just the footprint. So I measured along the sill here, the eave, that's one side of the footprint, and then from corner to corner, ignoring however tall the pitch is, whatever shape the roof is, it's just the footprint. So that turned out to be about 11.4 feet by 12 feet, which ends up being 136.8 square feet surface area of this roof, catchment area. Using our calculation from up there, that comes out to 85.2 gallons per inch of rain. So every time it rains an inch, we get another 85 gallons off this roof. So I've also got to remember that the roof is not the only place that's going to collect water. Any hardscape I've got in the backyard is also going to act as an impervious surface and shed water into the backyard. So I've got these two patio areas back here, and I've calculated those are going to add another 164 and 114 gallons per inch of rain. So that's another number I have to keep in mind, another observation I have to make when I'm dealing with water issues in this backyard. So anytime you're doing a design that includes water harvesting, anytime you're trying to take water from, say, a roof or other impervious surface and move it into a landscape, let it soak into the ground, let it feed those plants, which is really what we're trying to do with permaculture, you got to make sure that water has somewhere to go when there's too much of it. When there's a big rain event or a flood, it needs an escape. So one of the important observations we need to make is, what is the lowest point? Where is that water going to want to go? Because water will always seek out the lowest point. And my own observations from living in this backyard, from being out here when it rains, which is really the best time to make any observations about water, because you can see it happening. I know that the water in this backyard, it doesn't go out this side of the yard because there's this patio in the way. There's this raised edge, and so water will pool against this patio, but it won't go out that side. It'll go out this side of the house. It goes down this concrete hallway and then out down the driveway into the street to the gutter. So we're going to try to capture as much of that water as we can, hopefully soak it all into the backyard, but when our basins do overflow, they need a place to go. So I have to somehow get the water over to this corner and provide it a safe way to get out of the yard. So making these observations about water is really where I like to start when doing design. Everything starts with water. And so it's important to know how much we're going to have and where it might move on the landscape. Luckily, this backyard doesn't have very much elevation change at all, so we can kind of work with the landscape by digging and making basins to move water kind of where we want it, which is an easy thing. Sometimes if you have a slope, you have to let the land design the water flow more than you, but it's a balance in between those two things. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I hope you learned something. If you like my videos and you want to support, please go out to patreon.com/JesseGrimes and become a patron. As always, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.